Greetings, JD at SHIELDRUM Records. Today introducing SHIELDRUM Records EazyEffects Racks Collection 1. This is an ensemble of 15 Ableton effect racks with presets. These are some tools for mixing, dub mixing, sound design, and also learning Ableton effects. And those racks highlights main parameter and simplify multitask live effects. So to explain the concept, for example, here we have the phaser flanger effect from Ableton. So it can do two of those effects. And depending on what is selected, some parameters are changing. So for some of those racks, I simplified the effects that way. So to start, let's go into the modulation folder. So first we have the phaser. And in this phaser, I assign what I think is the most important on the effect. And from there you have the main control and a few presets based on my experience with phaser and analog phaser. So a few words for all the racks I will introduce. When you hover the title bar, we'll have on the left some info about the effects. I have a little loop track here to do the test. Let's test this phaser effect quickly on the drums. By default, every effect are set to bypass generally. So that way you have an overview of several types of phasing. As you heard, in all those presets, generally LFO rates and amount stay the same. It is because those presets are meant to emulate different phaser, and then after that you have to tune it as you wish. Generally, on those effect racks, the lighter color knob are for modulation. For example, in this phaser we can have an LFO, change a bit the shape of that LFO, and we can also have an envelope follower, meaning the envelope of the input signal will impact on the phasing. So let's see quickly how to set up the phaser from the beginning, from the bypass preset. So first you will bring up the wet, remove LFO amount, and we will look for the center frequency where we want the phasing to occur. Let's say we will choose this frequency. After it, we will choose how we spread the several stages from this phasing. From there we can add some feedback. And we can bring in the LFO amount. If you find the effect too stereo, you have a width parameter. When you bring it back to 0 degree, it is mono. We can select stage also, 4 or 8. And for the envelope follower, we will add in the positive or the negative the impact of the envelope follower on the center frequency. And it could be interesting to have at the same time LFO amount and envelope following. And what we didn't see, we have at the beginning a high pass filter for the effect pass. Sometimes it's good to remove low frequency from phasing. And we have the mod blend, and the mod blend, this blend the modulation routing between center frequency and spread. So for the next one, I will give a bit less information because now you know about the presets, you know about the information you can have when you hover the title bar of the effect, you know about the dry wet and things like that. So let's go on another modulation from this pack, the one called Flanger, quite similar. I try to keep the same place on the faceplate with lighter color for the modulation section, and a few main parameters I find important. So same way, there's a bunch of presets. So with that same envelope following possibility of modulation. When you're satisfied, you will draw back a bit the wet signal to have a bit of the dry signal with it. Okay, let's go on the next modulation. This is chorus. So quite the same model with lighter color for modulation. This one have also a level knob and dry wet. Warm is a kind of saturation, feedbacking, and with our same parameter we can find on phaser and flanger. And the body of the chorus is the chorus ensemble. So for you to spot the difference, the chorus ensemble got 3 voices in stereo and the classic chorus got only 2 voices. So this is done for the modulation pack. Now we got the shift pack. And let's open the first one, frequency shift. Frequency shifter generally used to retune some drum samples. We can retune drum samples by pitching them or wrapping them. But if we want to keep the signal intact, we would use a frequency shifter, which will generate a tone and we can tune this tone on another frequency. So these are the few presets for you to visit the capabilities of this effect. So in this effect, same way, all the parameters for the modulation are light colors. The next one on the shift family is called pitch. So same way, a few presets. So with this, you can simply pitch, for example, remove all the LFO and envelope. You can pitch for 2 or 3 semitone. So with this rack, you can generate fixed pitch. If you remove the LFO amount, you can also generate some envelope-dependent pitch. For example, if the pitch parameter is at 0 semitone and you use the envelope follower, the envelope follower, according to the input signal, will pitch the parameter indicated here. So the third one in the Shift collection is called Ring Modulator. Very interesting on drums and everywhere else. The next category is dynamic. So first we have the delta compressor. So the delta compressor is a simple compressor with the capability of hear the delta signal. So the delta signal would be the difference between the drive signal and how the effect processes it. So let me show you. So for the moment, I have engaged the peak compression with a simple compression. I can exaggerate here. And when I switch on the delta parameter, I hear only when the compressor is active. When it's off, I hear the actual signal through the compressor. And when I activate it, I have the opposite signal or complementary signal. So with the delta on, the compressor transforms it into a gate/expander. And a good one, because in this case we can use peak RMS, knee, attack, release, and ratio to tune the gating. A bypass preset, then a peak comp preset. The delta of that peak comp, an RMS comp, and the delta of that RMS comp. So very useful when you want to tune precisely your compressor also. The next rack, gate sidechain. So it is used to sidechain one track by one other track. Okay, so for example, I will take the piano sound and use it to open the gate on the drum track. The idea here is to make a next instrument play the exact rhythmic partition from the source sidechain. And also we have a flip switch which will give us the invert result of the gate. So generally when you open this rack, it's already open to tell you to assign a sidechain input. Next, in the tool category, we have the 3D box. So the 3D box is a simple rack to locate an audio source in the 3D environment. So we have 3 main parameters: front, back, left, right, and up, down. So of course, all this can be animated by some automation. This is a rack to explain that filter, gain, and panoramic are the three main dimensions when you want to locate a sound source. Next, the AttackDrive. So AttackDrive is a tool based on Ableton Overdrive with a few presets. And I've been doing this when I made my DMX mod. It's a drum machine, and in this drum machine, on each track, I set an AttackDrive. So we will test it on the whole drum. If we want to hear it properly, because most of the time it is used on single source, bypass, attack 1, so a simple but very interesting rack. In fact, this simple technique is to add parallel filtered overdrive signal. So next we have the DeltaRack. So the DeltaRack is meant to test some effect and see how they affect your original signal. You can have effect signal and the delta signal. Sometimes with that technique you can discover some other tasks you can do with same effects. So for example, let's open simply an EQ8 on the chain drop effects here and set a low cut on this. When I switch on the delta, I have all the opposite of what is doing these effects. Okay. If I choose to add a low pass and I delta it, I have only what is not affected. You may discover some sounding you would not have with a simple effect without that DeltaRack. The next one is a noise modulator based on the vocoder with a few routings. So first, let's hear some presets on drum still. So same way, this is an effect very effective on single source. So let's copy this on the hi-hats, for example. It can be useful also on snares. In fact, you can add a noise and you can shape that noise. You have a dry gain knob for when we use it as we use it here in insert to still have the punch of the dry gain and the noise. And the last one is a utility EazyEffects rack. A simple rack, but very effective when you're mixing. For example, we can reach quickly certain tasks like making everything mono. Reversing the phase of the signal. Mono only the lows. listening only to mid, and listening only to side. It's at the same time a quick checking tool, and also if you think about automating each of those parameters, here a technique I use. So generally, instead of opening a utility, I open this rack and I will reset the minimum and maximum of some of the knobs according to my need. So let's imagine I need to make some -3 dB attenuation in some part of that drum, just -3, not more. So I will set minimum of the gain knob to -3. For a next parameter, I can want to have the pan not going too wide left and right. So I will limit the maximum and minimum. Okay, and for the width, same way. That way, if I want to write an automation on those parameters, it will be easier to select, for example, this, and knowing when I drop down to the maximum, I'm at -3. And same way for the width, if I select it, I know that the maximum will be 200 and not 400. So it's more precise and to go faster when you are mixing or you need some decision to make. Panoramic will be the same. I know that full left and full right will just be halfway of the maximum possibility. So that's all for the presentation of collection number 1. The next collection will contain other effects from Ableton, and we will introduce also a few of them from Live 12. Know that you can find all my instrument and effects release for Ableton on Gumroad. This is the address of my shop, JDI Elements Gumroad, and you can have access also to those instruments and effects if you are a Patreon, SHIELDRUM Records Patreon. So these are the 2 ways to get those effects.